We are going to work with you in this workshop this afternoon to understand how to get the industry professionals, and just the introduction so they will not miss anything, no problem. How to get the industry professionals agreeing on a common initiative. So I have to wait for the last one. Okay, to agree on a common initiative for measurement in our domestic market. Basically, we are competitors, and that's all the purpose of this workshop. How can we put everyone around the table to produce something in our market to consolidate or to empower the growth in our market? So, before we start, do you think we could go around the room just to understand who you are, from which company, which profile of company you are working, which profile of company you are working with, I mean, just to know if it's more like PR agencies or evaluation shops and evaluation institutes, or in-house corporate PR departments. So let's start that side. Would you like?
Sanna Kurkela, Medius International from Finland, and we're doing media monitoring and analysis.
Right. So who is in-house corporate or PR team? Okay. So because I realize that will be extremely long. Because still people are I can see still people coming. So maybe let's start with in-house and corporate communication teams. PR and corporate communication teams, sorry. 5. PR agencies. Also 8. Yeah. And media research company or media evaluation shops. Wow. So big majority. Yeah, brand owners. Okay. So let's start. So we joined Argus de la Presse, Arnaud and I, for Contra Media. We joined in this initiative, and I would like to cover the following points with you this afternoon. What was the starting point of the initiative? The key elements we put together to succeed, a quick overview of the measurement framework we produced, then a few examples rolling out the framework, and our own measure of the impact for this initiative. So let's go. What was the starting point? In June 2012, when we were in the economical crisis for the communication, Syntec RP is the French trade association representing more than 30 major PR agencies in the market, in the French market. Syntec RP, they summarized the main issues voiced by the president of Syntec RP. We need to raise the business credit of PR. We want PR to be synonymous with making business for the client. What are the indicators of reference for the PR measurement? How can we develop reference metrics to build the trust for PR? Let's agree all together on a common industry vocabulary, just to speak the same voice, with the same voice, sorry. We want also for PR our GRP. So we need a GRP type index to integrate the marketing plans. And social media evaluation is part of the PR metrics, and it has to be part of our measurement approach.
Maybe I can add that when we were talking with Thierry Veloff, we were in this economical crisis, and he was telling us, I don't really understand why in UK or why in the USA you have major PR agencies, there are a lot of PR investments. Why do in France, when we see a big agency, maybe there's 50 or 70 persons? What's the difference? How can we do differently? And how can we all together try to make more interest in PR? How can we make CEOs invest in PR? And that is this first line. We need to have business credit. And so everybody is using all sorts of indicators, and so it's a mess. And so it's difficult to say to some people, well, just invest because we know our business is taking you somewhere and we can track that somewhere. So that was also one of the context.
Behind all this, being sure that the measurement can boost the whole industry. So that's really what he puts behind this strategy and this need. So from that statement from Thierry Wolof, what was the route forward? Tell me the story of this measurement framework in France. There are 5 key points, I would say the do's and don'ts, we are able to see now after we have done the route of this measurement framework. And we'll go through these 5 key points. First one, don't go on your own. Bring the initiative as a collaborative project with other industry players, with your competitors. We did a lot of attempts in the past on our own. Arnaud for his company, me for my company, our competitors for their own, PR agencies, very entrepreneurial PR agency on their own, they tried to put a standard in the market. Each time, the result was that all the others, we were fighting against that standard because that was not ours. And it always failed. So this time we decided, okay, we'll sit all of us around the table and we decide to do something in common, to have it as a collaborative initiative in the market. So build the project together with other market players, get a sincere cooperation with your competitors, and don't push a unilateral proposition. The second takeaway is that we have to open the project to the whole industry and let the industry lead it, not us. In our case, that was Syntec RP, as I defined them before, the main PR agency association in France. And because they took the lead, they were able, from that position, to convince many other industry bodies in the market, like all the other PR industry associations, first of all. There are 4 or 5 of them in France, so finally they join under the same flag. But also the Advertisers Association, and also the Marketers Association, and the Corporate Communication Association. They all joined the board because Syntec RP was handing the flag. So they say, okay, let's go. It's credible. It's a credible initiative. We go there. So at the end of the day, that was all the industry joining in this initiative. So it's better to let an industry leader, an industry association, to drive the project. So at this point, you may ask, okay, where is my interest then? That's the third point. The third takeaway, this is now where you will take your role. You are the expert. Oops. In this project, we, Kantar Media and Argus de la Presse, we are the measurement shops. We are the institute. So we have the legitimacy to drive the expertise part of the whole project, to drive the methodology. And actually, that's, at the end of the day, the core part of the whole initiative. That's where you will have the credibility at the end of the whole project. So this is really where we focused our effort. We are the expert, and don't let the expertise to anyone else. The fourth point is that we thought that we could put rules into the market, but at the end of the day, we understood that we need to include in our project some flexibility to make it consensual. It's not a set of rules. It's a framework allowing each market player to find its own place in this framework and to develop its own expertise in this framework. So it's really a framework and not a set of rules. That was a very, very important thing to get the consensus around the project. So for that, you need to ensure that all the different market players, they share the common interest and they don't try to develop something different. And also, and that was the part led by Arno, in the framework to balance carefully what relates to the specific metrics and the space for interpretation insights from the market player, from the company. And the fifth element we put into this recipe, now that we had all the industry behind us, it was to attract the light, to attract the trade publications, to make the buzz. But then we did not stand at the front row. Same. The leading association, Syntec RP, we asked them to be at the front row because of their attracting power when we asked them to sit there. And it put more credibility in the whole project. And then we succeeded in putting all the PR expertise under the light of the wider communication and marketing market, basically. It attracted a lot of interest from marketers, from communicators, and that was far from just the PR industry at the end when we did the event. So Syntec RP presented this measurement framework during the AMEC Measurement Week in 2014. That was the French event for the AMEC Measurement Week last year. And from that, we had a lot of demands for other conferences led by the industry associations or led by Arno for his clients, led by my team for our clients. But from that starting point, then we roll out a lot of conferences. So that's, I would say, the key ingredients to the success. Collaborative, industry-led, the expert is you, consensual, and buzzing. And the fantastic output, first output, never seen before in France, it's that all our company logos, they were on the same page. And for the market, it's something quite impressive at the end of the day, because we are all competing with each other. And suddenly they saw us on the same page, on the same web page, on the same print document, on the same invitations for the event, and say, wow, what's happening there? And it attracts attention as well to see that kind of league in the industry. So once we had that, I think it could be of interest for you to be introduced to this measurement framework, and Arno will take that part and explain you what we built there.
Maybe you have some questions on this first part. I'll bring some examples and I'll break down what's in the framework. But before, on this initiative, on how we operated on the market, are there any questions about this? Okay. Okay, thank you. Do you want to wait for the microphone, maybe?
I think Helen Dunberg Retriever. I think it's great to hear about the success that you have had. If we would be doing something similar, which I hope all of us will try to do, I suppose that you have had some challenges on the way, and that would be very good to hear about them, so that we could kind of, get some takeaways from there, the key ones.
A lot of time.
A lot of time, yeah, maybe.
A lot of time dedicated to it, because to get all the people around the table and to make the framework by itself, it takes a lot of time. But
it takes a lot of time and a lot of sort of education. At the first point when we were trying to work this out, the PR agencies that were in the committee were also proposing some measurements, metrics, and from a media monitoring company or a media measuring company point of view, these metrics were maybe sometimes passed away, and we had to explain that that was maybe things that you would use 10 years ago or 5 years ago, but now today, and it was a lot of diplomacy, trying to get them to another scope or another way to see things. So that wasn't very easy. And there's a lot of people having different point of views, and to having expertise. Sonia is here. We worked a lot together as a experts saying the same thing, and that was very helpful. So they could recognize that, well, if experts are saying the same thing, then maybe we should listen to them. So that was also a key to the success.
You had something like 8 different entities, let's say, sending participants to the initiative, and then a 9th one joined at the very end, just before we launched, and from the beginning, a 10th one, AMEC, supported the initiative. But that was really with 8 entities, so that's a lot. To have a final plate, that's a lot of people putting their ingredients in it. Yeah.
As I'm not really very familiar with French market, all those 8 or 9 entities that you had, was it media measurement companies, then PR agencies, as I understand? Was it the same proportion for all of us, because for all of you? Because I think some voice could have been more strength than the other one.
Yeah, it was really working with the major trade association, which is grouping agencies. And after that, once that we had a proposal with us into it, then we extended it to other trade associations. Okay, so we went like circling around larger and larger. But at the first, we were with Occurrence, with another actor of the market, Kantar, us, and then the Syntec. So that was the first part of the beginning with the agencies, and then we enlarged it to other associations that would represent corporation brands, marketers.
The PR agencies were invited to the event with their clients. How did you manage that?
At the event, to let them discover the framework, or to work to create the framework?
To create it.
To create it. Yeah, they were present as they are guided by the Syntec RP, which is the trade association that groups the different agencies. And so on the table we would have several CEOs of agencies, not always the same, which was sometimes hard because they have to catch up a little bit with what would be done several weeks before. But yeah, we had directors of agencies around the table. Yeah.
Has there been discussion about organizations like PRSA, so we could also have a common framework in the United States as well?
So, sorry, I didn't understand.
Has there been like PRSA, Public Relations Society of America?
Definitely, AMEC is the bridge there. It's the starting point because we use the Barcelona principle and the measurement framework from AMEC. So the starting point is AMEC, and it is they are also, or we are, all of us at AMEC, the bridge with potentially other associations.
So let's go to the framework to discover what it is. So it is a framework. We've been talking in AMEC since yesterday of big projects. This framework is modest. It's willing to fit in different situations, and the majority of situations that have PR involved in it. My goal here is to overview the framework and give you the chance to appreciate what's in it, what we agreed on. We could maybe have been more ambitious, but this is what we really could agree on. And so the plan is, first of all, I'll explain the framework, and then we'll go to some examples that we will discuss. First of all, three points that I wanted to highlight before going into the framework. It led us the chance to do several things. The first was to define what we were talking about when we were talking about PR. PR have a lot of evolution on the different months, years. Is it about having good relationship with journalists or medias? Is it going to extend to social media? Is it communications with all stakeholders? So that was a benefit. One of the benefits was directly into the introduction, is what are we talking about when we're talking about PR in France? A second thing was interesting is to having a glossary, because we're all talking the same language, French, but we're not putting the same significance behind the words. So we need to have a same glossary and having definition that we agree on. So that was another point quite interesting also. One point also was to, and maybe that's the best of it, I think, is to recall that you really have to set specific and measurable goals when it's about going with PR. We discussed that a long time previously here this morning and all around the AMEC summit. But for us, it was really the occasion to focus the light on this specific point. And that was really interesting for us to recall them to do. Well, before we're talking about measurement, we're talking about setting goals, right? The framework is based on the 7 principles of Barcelona. For us, it's important because what it says behind the line is that we're talking seriously when we're talking about measurement. And that's the point. There's an international credit. There's a lot of people working on this. Now, there's another point that we lack of notoriety awareness around AMEC. What's AMEC? Nobody knows what's AMEC in France. I mean, maybe 1%, maybe 2%. I don't know. The PR professional know what's about. So that's a problem. But it was a first initiative to make people know what this type of initiative is, and it's good for them to know that everybody has the same problem, and it's a common problem, and we share thoughts around that. And last point is to avoid advertising value equivalent, of course. So that said, let's go to the framework. I'm not going to go in detailed formulas. I guess that's not the goal, and I guess that everybody would then be sleepy about in 5 seconds. So just let's stick to the main thing. So as you can see, the framework is built on 3 major steps. It sounds maybe obvious, but the majority of the time what you're going to find when you're talking about PR measurement is the number of clips that they generated by their campaign. If you have little luck, then you're talking about media visibility and content analysis, which is already a good step, actually. For a simple example, in Argus de la Presse in France, we have around 7,000 companies that require for us media monitoring. We only have 350 that do media measurement with us. Now, I understand that there's competition. I understand that people can do them by themselves, but trust me, there's not 6,650 people that are doing that. I would know that. So the thing is, there's a major gap between just counting clips and doing media measurement. And so the thing is, okay, you have media visibility and content, and then that's usually, if you already have that, you're already happy. So we try to draw the line a little bit further in saying that, well, then maybe you're going to have visibility. Maybe you're going to have visibility on your content, but then what's going on the opinion, and then what will be the outcomes on the business. And just for that, it was interesting to do this with the PR pros in France because it opened a scope that they usually don't open as large. Even if they know it, they're not going to put that on paper. So that was one of the big things. Maybe to go a little bit more in depth in different parts. So for visibility and weighted visibility, we choose to agree on opportunities to see. So that's the major metric that's behind. On content and qualified content, it's a classical media measurement. So content with a grid where you're going to look what the message are taken or are passed by relayed by the media. Qualified content is just the tone, like we usually do, just positive, negative, neutral, or whatever scale you want to have to use. Then we have on the same, I would say, on the same step, you have all that is specific to the web. As the web will let content accessible for a long time, there's the web indexing. As we know, there's a lot of responsibility in a certain point with PR on what people are having to see when they search Google or whatever search engine they use. So it's important for us to let them see that they have a role in that web indexing, and they can influence content that would be blogs or that would be articles that come out of search engines. Other part would be all that you can track with your audience online. Interest, the number of traffic that you have on your website, your blogs, or on your Twitter. Interaction, what's the quality of the relationship. Expansion, what is the recommendation rate, how much it is shared with different other audience that can be interested about your news. Going from there to the opinion is, I would say, a classical, you can use classical surveys. You can also use the content that is online. Expression online is useful to see if we're talking more about things, how are they talking about it, what are the messages that are been taken relayed through these. Doing always pre and post campaign necessarily to see what's the shift. And then there's the business part, which is a little bit more complicated to template. There is a lot of different situations, different campaigns. You can measure a lot of things. It depends on what the operation is. The thing is that on this journey, I would say, it's interesting to think it as one way going from the media and then the impact on the opinion, what is the effectiveness of that, and then going to business. But what's interesting is to do it all the way around when you're thinking about setting up a new campaign. So you would start it all over around. You said that now, if I want to have some business outcomes, what would they be? And how am I going to track the different steps? How am I going to track then the shift on the opinion? And then to have this shift on the opinion, what am I going to do and what message am I going to send through the media? So that's a two-way around possibility that's quite interesting. So business metrics, you can have a lot of examples. You could associate, for example, a special telephone number that you would associate with your PR. So you can, see how much calls you get on that. You can have a number of downloads of an application or a white paper. You can have a lot of examples. Beyond this framework, there's a lot of things that you can not measure, and that's the specific part of PR. It's difficult to measure all of it, what it's producing. I would say the quality of a relationship is very difficult to analyze. If you have a good relationship with a partner, if you have a good relation or a new relationship, if you have a relationship with media and journalists, it's difficult. If you elude a crisis, we were talking about that yesterday, it's difficult. But for all the rest, there is this proposition on the French market that we managed to agree on. So like we were saying, obviously, this is very open. Everybody can use it. You don't have to use all of it. Just pick one. It depends of your resources. Maybe you're just going to take the total visibility. Maybe you're going to take awareness. But okay, you know where you're choosing your indicators. And it's open to interpretation, like we're saying. So it's up to the different brands to use it. What we think is that more people are going to use measurement, more they're going to be convinced on the credit of using PR, and more they're going to do that, more they're going to have media coverage, and then after all, they're going to have more investment in PR, and so in our companies. At least we hope so. Some examples. Are there questions about this? You want to maybe have a 5-minute question? Do we have time for that? Oh yeah, we have plenty of time.
That's what you said.
Are there questions about this? Yeah.
Hi, I'm Nina from DNVGL. I'm just wondering, when you said visibility is opportunity to see, how do you calculate that? Is that reach numbers for the media outlets, or how do you calculate it? And if so, will you be able to retrieve that from different markets and geographical markets?
Okay. I can talk about the French market because we evolve in the French, but maybe Quentin has answers on the international scope. For us, it is a challenge because you don't have audience associated to all medias. You have it through a certain database, certain actors of the market where you can buy it. But as we know, there's a certain limit. For the magazines, there's only official audiences for maybe 300 medias in France, and then after that, professional, what are they? So we set calculations to estimate through other indicators that we have for these medias, and so deducting that, we can maybe estimate an audience. So it's a challenge, and it's a way to do things. That's why Opportunities to See was quite interesting to agree on, is that we media monitoring companies have the resources to think about it. We have database to do some calculations. What I'd say somebody with just Excel behind a PC will be, I guess, very in difficulty to do that. Other questions?
Paul Njoku, UK government. Could you expand on how you've defined weighted visibility, going back to your media visibility and content?
Yeah, sure. Weighted is to make difference between a simple mention, for example, that you would have to 4 pages in an article, or if you are, for example, 30 seconds on air, or rather than a half an hour. So we defined what would be a common presence in these medias. For example, 1 page would be a standard in press, for example, or 30 seconds on radio and TV, and then we would just weight that with different metrics, but it's opened.
That's fine. That brings me up to my second question. At what points, or where do you take into account the sentiment or the overall tone of that content?
Okay, this is a visibility indicator at this point, just at this point. That doesn't mean that we're not going to mix it behind with others. But at this point, we're just saying that there's 2 ways of measuring your impact. Opportunities to see, straight at that's one. If you don't have resources to calculate the media space that you occupied, why not? Prefer use that to others than volume of clips, for example. If you have the chance to have resources to do better, then measure the media space and then calculate how you can, adjust your opportunities to see with that. So that's another indicator. I'll get to the examples. Maybe that will be clear further on. Okay, examples? So maybe a last thing that we did also is there's the book that we edited, and then we put it online, and we put it online on a forum. So PR professional can contribute on what the good practice are, on maybe the limits They can share their thoughts, so it's sort of an interactive project. Sorry? Actually, it's in French at the first place, but we had a lot of people asking us to translate that. So it had been translated helpfully to the Kantar team, and it's even on the AMEC website. We have a link to that at the end. So let's challenge it. So on this example, you have, for example, on the right side, on the timeline, I'm not sure if everybody sees that correctly, I hope so. You have, so this is a true example. It's a real brand, it's real figures. It's a timeline where you have several things that happen on a period. On the left side, you have a scale that is opportunities to see. On the right, you have a scale of weighted opportunities to see. On the blue, you have the, we didn't translate that one. So it's opportunity to see, the ODV is OTS actually. And on the green, you have the weighted opportunities to see. And so this is a classical situation where you have your boss saying that there was an incident. The incident is on the right side. It's a blue peak. There's two peaks actually. The words are two peaks almost, you know, on the right part of the graph. The one really on the right is an incident. It's an incident that happened to the company, okay, and that's obviously what executives usually remember of. You know, remember that, and we had this really coverage that was disastrous and all that. But on the other side, you have another peak, and this peak is interesting because it has almost the same opportunities to see. When it comes to look what the media space had been occupied, was way higher. Why is that? Is that it's a PR-driven action. And when you have a PR-driven action, you can put that face to face, you can compare and say, well, see, you remember of this incident that we had, but compared to that, we had almost the same opportunities to see, but we had a way bigger impact and visibility for our brand. Another thing that you can do is, for example, if your company or the companies are working with cost per thousand on other marketing mix channels, you can then compare what is your cost effectiveness with your PR, and you can just very easily calculate with the investment that you did in this campaigns, what is your cost per thousand or cost per mil. In this case, this is a false one. It's just an example, but it's always possible to do that, right? So you can compare different channels in the marketing mix, and then you have a certain answer to the return on investment. If other people are saying that they have a return on investment with advertising, and then you ask them what's the cost per thousand, you can then compare with the PR, and then you can say if it's way more or less effective than the other investment. So that's a positive output that you can have with this type of methodology. Another is just continuing to mix with the visibility indicators the content, and that comes very easily too. So you can take the same metrics and compare. For if I stay on the right part of the graph, you have the impact of PR action. If you just stand to the volume of clips, it's generating 19% of the clips are related to PR action. When it comes to occasion or opportunities to see, you know that you're driving a third of the impact. So that's interesting too, when you have bosses that are asking you, so what's the real point of doing PR? Well, it's, look, first we're getting coverage, and when we are having coverage, well, it's better coverage, and we're going to also go to messages, for example, or to press releases. So you can see some press releases here on the right too, and on these different press releases, you're going to have more impact. Depends on the content, depends on what you're saying, but you can measure how some press releases are giving more opportunities to see than others. And that's another answer to some other situations when you have a lot of people or executives that want to communicate on a lot of things. And as a PR pro, you're maybe saying, well, that is not really a good idea. I mean, let's moderate our announcements. Let's stick to what's really important. And they insist, so you do it. But at the end of the day, you can say, well, look, there's 1 or 3 subjects that are really interesting the media, and others that don't need to spend time. We are all, keen to have priorities and to stick on what's important or not. So here are 1 or 2 examples, and then maybe Quentin wants to explain some of the opinion.
So now let's go a little bit deeper in bridging the PR campaigns with the opinions. So what could we measure there? So this is for a real client, for a bank. They have a charity action, publicized only via PR and media coverage during the Christmas time from November to January. And each year we roll out a field of interviews for them in February to understand what is the impact on the people, knowing that was, I'm repeating myself, that was only publicized through the PR and through the media coverage. So these are the results. We do that every year. So in February 2015, that's 70% of the representative population 18 plus, aware of this topic being a topic from the company, from the bank. Then for their target, for the young target, which is very important for them, 18 to 24 years old, it's 80%. 80% meaning plus 4 points in comparison with 2014. So they increase there. For females, 11 points only and -1. So there is a problem we need to fix on that specific target for the bank. And about the clients from the bank, 39% are aware, plus 2% in comparison, 2 points in comparison with the previous year. So that was the first result. And then on the left-hand side, you have the appreciation of the interviewees about this campaign. So you can see the different targets with different colors, and the way they appreciate whether totally agree, would not agree, or totally disagree. And same, we measure and we compare with the previous year for that specific PR campaign for each of the targets. Sorry. So 63% for agreement in general in orange, 65% for the female target, 77% for the young target, and 86% for the clients of the bank. And we even focus a little bit more about the way the interviewees were in touch with this media coverage. So I did a focus there on the average in orange and at the top, and the young target at the bottom. And you can see the differences. For the average, it's mainly TV. They had a lot of coverage, through the daily news, actually, for that specific action. Internet, press, radio, and then the social networks. And then for the young targets, it's less TV, far much more internet, the press, the radio, and the social network. And there is also in the middle the way they accede on the internet, and you can see the difference. Oops, sorry. You can see the difference here. That's the mobile and tablet access as an average, and the mobile tablet access here for the young target. And it reflects a specific action which was taken in the 2015 campaign to make all the content very simply shareable on mobile devices and to activate more social campaigns which are able to be disseminated very quickly on mobile devices. And really, it makes the point. It makes the point at the end.
Switch from here. No, I can switch.
Next
from here.
Next is yours, I think. Yeah.
Okay, so
I cannot say more than a charity topic. because our clients in PR, in earned media in general, they're really, really jealous not to share anything about that. Like in paid media, we can say a lot, but in earned media, they really ask us not to share. I'm very sorry about that. It's a charity operation they do each Christmas year. Each year on Christmas, sorry.
Okay, maybe one example from 1,000 or maybe not 1,000, because not always simple, like we said this morning, but on different possibilities, outputs. Here we have a campaign around a survey that a brand led, and this survey they made a little bit about PR around it. It had media coverage. And this media coverage drove people to the website and then to download the survey and the results. And going to that point, it's possible to set, you just leave your details so people can phone you back, and that has been delivered to the sales department that has new accounts possibly. And then you have a return on investment possible. Like if we put the link with what we were saying early on, you can often have PR doing communication around a survey, right? And that's it. They're going to have media coverage. But if they're thinking about what the business outcomes they can have, they're going to link all the different steps, and then they're going to say, well, maybe then we're going to have the possibility to download it. Oh, and if we download, then maybe we're going to ask them to leave their details. And if we do so, we're going to link with the sales department so they can phone back. And I mean, that's something that is very easy to do, and sometimes people just don't think about it because they're not setting, like we said, putting the dots, or there's an expression in English that I don't understand, but connecting the dots between different things. Thank you. Sorry? Oh, sorry.
I'm just curious, given that this is a financial activity or indeed which involves ROI, that there is the danger that the claim in relation to those 5 accounts and the value of those 5 accounts came solely from PR. Now, in my experience, there's a lot of interventions that are not PR related that are driving people to open up accounts. So, for example, if you go into a bank, you often get an upselling of people engaging with you, some of the touch points. So here we're certainly making a claim, which is a bold claim, I would imagine, that, in relation to the number of accounts that were open, that everything was attributed to PR. Yeah. Now, joining the dots for me is about looking at some of the key indicators for some of these other interventions and making sure that we can disaggregate what PR is bringing to the table versus what some of these other areas for which there's a huge amount of investment operationally is also bringing.
Yeah. It's right, but then let's start from that point. Let's say that, well, there's different situations, right? You have situations where you have companies that... Did I do something wrong? Okay. So you have a situation where you can have... You can keep talking. Okay. Only PR, because that exists. For example, us in Argus de la Presse, we have this type of thing going on. We have white papers. If you're a PR agency, you're going to download it, and we're not doing any advertisement. So that's a possibility, but maybe not always. But maybe then you're going to think it all the way around and saying, well, we have a marketing mix. How can we do to isolate? And maybe then you're going to do several things. When you download it, you're going to maybe just have a formula, where you can say, have you been listening about this? How did you come to my website? So maybe that's a very simple thing to do. But maybe you can do a lot of other things. Maybe you can name it differently. So even if in a communication operations maybe not a very good idea, but maybe you can do it with another timeline or something that, when people think about it, and let's try to not mix everything up, then you're going to force everybody to try to track it differently, so they really have the possibility to have these little dots. I forgot again the expression.
Connecting the dots.
Connecting the dots. More questions about this? So our indicators, do you want to do it?
Oh, okay.
No? There's 2 slides we can share.
So indicators of success, just to review with you what happened when we launched the measurement framework in the French market. So the fact that we were associated with the Saint-Écarpé, it opened a lot of doors, meaning that our brands as institutes were disseminated all over the place with this operation, and that's a very good thing at the end of the day. So all the marketing pros, all the communication pros, they received that announcement from the trade body associations. We had something like 1,000 downloads of the framework for the French version only. 3,000 visitors on the website very quickly after the launch, in the month, so even if 3 weeks after, then of course it declined a lot, but just after the launch it made a lot of buzz, and we had a lot of visitors. And then after the inaugural conference, let's say, we've been asked for other conferences in the market. We've been asked to organize workshops, and Arno did quite a lot of them actually, with the clients, with other trade bodies. So that was quite buzzing there. Plus the media coverage.
Yeah, we had some major articles. In France, we don't really have a lot of articles on PR market at all. I mean, it's
no PR industry publication in France like PR Week in the UK, or PR Moment, or Communicate. I mean, you have four of them in the UK. You don't have one in France, just 0.
So it's all about advertisement and these type of things. So we managed to have 5 major articles, which wasn't bad at all, and we took this opportunity to blog, to tweet. We had a lot of interviews on videos and published on YouTube. And on 6 last months, we didn't have so much coverage than we had maybe on 6 last years. It was really something that that's coming to knowledge to the different professionals. So that was good, and we even have this English translation because we have companies that work on an international level, and they needed to explain maybe this to their other
teams and other clients.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hi, Lasse Skjolden in Infomedia Denmark. Very practical question. What is your preferred magazine of PR? Should I only subscribe to one?
In France?
In France,
there is no.
You don't have
the UK
any.
or
in the UK.
That you sort of browsed the market.
We work with all of them, so it's difficult to orientate you on one only. But we work with all of them, basically. Diversifying our coverage.
Barbara Bassi, l'Eco della Stampa. How long did the whole process take from the initial idea to the end? More or
This
less?
is for you.
I don't know, 2 years, 2 years and a half. Yeah. What happened is that we had we were setting the whole thing, and all of a sudden there's Saint-Écarpé that realized that there's another commission on digital, and that they're thinking about indicators. So we took a year and a half to agree on things, and then all of a sudden you have the digital guys that come with all a battery of metrics, like 15 or 20, and said, well, maybe we're going to try to integrate all this, and then so it took us a year more.
Carlos?
Yeah.
Carlos Diaz, Global News Latin America. Have you also worked with universities in France and with new students so that the framework is taught at school?
That's a good question. No, we didn't do that. We should.
Sonia, you do some courses for education. So do you integrate that in your courses?
as I know, the framework isn't taught in university.
No, not yet. So we have to address that point next. Very good. Very good plan. Thank you, Carlos. You want to ask a question? Oops, there is one there.
Can I go first? Since I have a mic. Nina from DNVGL again. I was just wondering, have you measured what I would say would be the ultimate outcome? How many people have taken it into use?
No.
No is the answer. How many business it drives to us? That's difficult to identify clearly, but in all our companies, the evaluation is really, really growing. That's the most. That's a quicker growth driver at the moment. The biggest growth driver. Sorry. What we ask at the moment, what we discuss at the moment with the Scientific Capital Association is to make their own survey with their members to understand whether they use it, because they were part of that process. 30 PR agencies, that's not nothing, 30 PR agencies. So to ask to their members if finally they work with the framework, or it is just something they put on the table to start the conversation with the client, and then from that work on the measurement, which would be already a fantastic output, if not an outcome, in my views.
First of all, I was going to commend the work you've done. This is not easy. But given that I'm talking as a client here, and a client that is pushing a lot of my government departments to come up with some robust metrics that is consistent across the piece and across about 320 government departments, good luck on what you've achieved so far. Just coming back to my last question, which sort of was asked over there, is, given the media coverage you've achieved and the work you do, what was success for you guys, and how have you applied your model to the publicity you received, and what the impact was in monetary terms or in ROI terms?
Do you want to answer?
I don't know. I almost want to say I don't really care. Why? Is because, first of all, I had a lot of interest doing this. Second, I never worked so much with trade associations than 6 months, and what we're doing with them now is way different than what we would have been doing with them 2 years ago or before, because we settled relationships that we didn't have before. We're talking the same language, and it's very difficult to measure this. For example, I would say, how am I going to find a return on investment on a good relationship that I have with my friend? I'm not going to do that. A relationship is also that. The things that I was saying later on is that you can measure things, and others you're not going to measure them. On this part, I think I'm not going to measure them, because a good relationship that I have with the trade association, well, I'm not going to measure it. I just know it. And I know that I'm taking profit now, tomorrow, maybe in 1 year. I know I'm going to have profit of that. And since the investment was very little, this is just what we're doing all day long, and we're passionate on what we're doing. We just love it. No problem. If we had to invest a lot of time, a lot of resources, it wouldn't be the same thing, I guess.
I think that's a very valid point, and it comes back to what was echoed in the first session about joining the dots. They say it takes 20 years to build a reputation, but 5 minutes to destroy it. And until this industry recognizes that you guys are contributing to enhancing the reputation, and actually you need to establish where you plug into that. It's only then that people will begin to recognize that there is a role the PR agencies does play. Very often, I engage with a lot of departments and senior leadership team who, particularly on the comm side, and their issue to me is that we don't have a seat at the table, at the top board table, and that's because historically they've gone into some of those meetings where they have had a seat and either projected metrics that people don't buy, or more importantly, took in metrics around AVEs, which people dismiss a lot of the time at that level. Whereas when you nail your colours, when you begin to join the dots and understand what your role is in enhancing the reputation, which is a longitudinal thing, you don't build a reputation based on one media story or one PR activity. It takes time to build. It's only then that we're able to demonstrate what we're bringing to the table, particularly in relation to the narrative around why the results are the way they are.
Yeah, I agree. I think that we have a rule here in AMEC doing more than what we're doing. Well, maybe AMEC is really known in UK. Another step would be that this credit, even if they're not joining the dots, but they know that things are done elsewhere, it gives credit to the PR, and they'll do a lot for us. Maybe the last question. I think we're almost yeah.
Okay, thanks. I'll try and keep it brief. Andy West from Hotwire. You've clearly spent an incredible amount of time putting thought into this, working with the various bodies and agencies in France. But I'm going to confess to being a little confused. In terms of consistency, we have an awful lot of metrics. We have the Value Metric Framework. We've got the social media framework that's been worked on globally. I represent a global agency. How do I use this new framework against the AMEC framework that we've been pushing as a global agency? So do I expect my French agency to take this? Do I expect them to take the AMEC framework? Help me understand how this should be positioned outside of the French environment.
Well, as you know, the AMEC framework is not very precise. You cannot do anything really with the 7th principle of Barcelona. There's nothing that you can respect major guidelines, but when are you going to translate that in indicators?
I think I would agree with the principles, but I think the Value Metric Framework plus the work that Richard Bracknell and his group did on social media measurement, there are a gazillion different metrics that one can take from the work they've done and apply using your own interpretation, your own client need and your own judgment to the requirements of the campaign that you're looking to measure. Mm-hmm. And that's, I guess, where my slight confusion is coming, because I think the IP is there, and yes, it takes a knowledge of measurement and insight to be able to apply what exists as a resource from AMEC in your own circumstances. But that's why I'm a little confused, because this is a great framework. I can see a lot of thought's gone into it, but we're pretty happy with the guidance and the materials we get from AMEC.
So there is 2 levels of answers there. The first level of answer is that this is from September 2014, resulting of 2 years. So that was done with getting the inspiration from the Barcelona principles and the measurement framework, which were both of them, even the framework at this period of time, guidelines, not metrics to apply. So that was the starting point. Now, if this afternoon, I think that's our job this afternoon, we are issuing the new steps, the new AMEC product or measurement metrics or things, then I think we'll be we'll be very happy to roll out that now in the French market and to reinitiate the process in the French market and to return the French market working on that. Because at least we have made the people talking about this topic in the French market. That's the first level. Second level is when we started using the AMEC document as inspiration, we were saying in the market, okay, we have to stop we are all convinced that we need to stop AVEs. And then the first answers was, okay, we stop AVEs. What do you give us as metric to replace? Barcelona principles, no metrics. The framework, no metrics. So what do you do? So you have to engage the conversation with something, and that's the reason why from the Barcelona principles and from the measurement framework from last year, we built that tool to engage with our market and to make sure that we really seize this topic and put it under the light.
Maybe the last thing is that it wouldn't have been possible if we imposed anything. Maybe it's because we're in France, I don't know. It's very complicated, and they want it to be their framework. There was that also. Let's do something together. We want to contribute to something. So let them do, because they're the people that are going to spread the information. And as we said, we already tried things, and it's really when they are taking it out that we're having success. Okay.
I think we are done.
Thank you very much.
So you have the QR code, which you can flash to download the framework, and it is on the front page of the AMEC website. So you can download it from there as well, in the English version, in its English version.